What if I told you that sitting in your local grocery store right now are four vegetables so powerful that researchers have been studying them for decades as potential weapons against cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and chronic inflammation? And what if I told you that most people walk right past them without a second thought? I'm Dr. Zoey Scott, and in my years of practicing medicine and studying nutritional science, I've seen a lot of trends come and go. But what I'm going to share with you today isn't a trend, this is science. This is decades of peer-reviewed research, and these four vegetables have the potential to genuinely change the trajectory of your health if you know how to use them. Now, before we dive in, I want you to stay with me until the very end because the fourth vegetable on this list is probably not one you'd ever expect, and the research behind it is absolutely remarkable. So let's get into it. First, let me explain something that most people don't fully understand about cancer and chronic disease. At their core, most of these conditions share a common enemy, inflammation, and oxidative stress. Every single day, your body's cells are being attacked by molecules called free radicals, unstable atoms that damage your DNA, your cell membranes, and your tissues. Now, your body has natural defense systems, but when free radical production outpaces your body's ability to neutralize them, you end up with what scientists call oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is one of the key drivers behind cancer cell development, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and even accelerated aging. On top of that, chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind you often can't even feel, is now being recognized as one of the most dangerous underlying conditions of our time. A landmark study published in the journal Nature Medicine found that inflammation-related diseases account for more than 50% of all deaths worldwide. Let that sink in. More than half of all deaths on this planet are linked to diseases driven by inflammation. So the question becomes, what can we do about it? And the answer, at least in part, lies in the food we eat. Specifically, certain vegetables that contain compounds capable of fighting inflammation, neutralizing free radicals, and even interfering with cancer cell growth at a molecular level. Here are the top four. The first vegetable on our list is one you've almost certainly heard of, but I guarantee you don't know the full story about what it can actually do inside your body. I'm talking about broccoli. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Dr. Morgan, broccoli? Really? Bear with me here because this is where it gets fascinating. Broccoli belongs to a family of plants called cruciferous vegetables, and it contains a compound called glucoraphanin. On its own, glucoraphanin is relatively inert, but here's where the magic happens. When you chew broccoli, you activate an enzyme called myroinase, which converts glucoraphanin into a compound called sulforaphane. And sulforaphane is quite frankly one of the most studied anti-cancer compounds in nutritional science today. So what does sulforaphane actually do? Research conducted at Johns Hopkins University showed that sulforaphane activates a protein in the body called NRF2, often called the master regulator of antioxidant response. When NRF2 is activated, it switches on over 200 cytoprotective genes that produce antioxidant and detoxifying enzymes. In simple terms, sulforaphane essentially turns your body's own defenses up to maximum capacity, but it doesn't stop there. A study published in the journal Cancer Prevention Research found that sulforaphane can inhibit the growth of cancer stem cells, the cells that are most resistant to conventional cancer treatments and most responsible for cancer recurrence. The researchers found this effect in breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer models. Another study from the University of Michigan found that sulforaphane was able to reduce the size of breast cancer tumors in mice by more than 50%. Now, I always want to be transparent with you. Many of these studies are still in early stages, and a number are conducted in laboratory settings or animal models, but the consistency of the findings is hard to ignore, and population studies support this as well. Research analyzing dietary patterns across large groups consistently finds that higher consumption of cruciferous vegetables is associated with lower rates of several cancers, including lung, colorectal, and prostate cancer. There's also a crucial practical tip I need to share here because most people are destroying sulforaphane without even knowing it. When you boil broccoli, you inactivate that myoinase enzyme. You're cutting off the conversion process that produces sulforaphane in the first place. Lightly steaming broccoli for no more than 3 to 4 minutes preserves the most sulforaphane. Even better, eating it raw maximizes the benefit. You can also add a small amount of mustard powder to cooked broccoli. Because mustard contains its own myoines that compensates for what's lost during cooking, that one simple habit can make a dramatic difference. Make broccoli a staple, not an afterthought. The second vegetable on our list has been used as medicine for over 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptians gave it to the workers building the pyramids to maintain strength and ward off disease. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, prescribed it for fatigue and infections. And modern science is now beginning to understand exactly why this ancient wisdom held up. I'm talking about garlic. Garlic contains a compound called allicin. On its own, allicin doesn't do much, but the moment you crush, chop, or chew a clove of garlic, allicin comes into contact with an enzyme called alliinase, and they react to form a compound called allicin. Allicin is the primary biologically active molecule in garlic, and it's responsible for that characteristic pungent smell. But more importantly, allicin and its derivatives have shown remarkable effects in scientific research. A meta-analysis published in the journal Nutrition and Cancer examined the results of 27 epidemiological studies and found that high garlic consumption was associated with a significantly reduced risk of colorectal cancer, one of the most common and deadly cancers worldwide. Another large-scale study from the Iowa Women's Health Study followed nearly 42,000 women over 5 years and found that those who consumed garlic most frequently had a 35% lower risk of developing colon cancer compared to those who rarely consumed it. But garlic's benefits extend well beyond cancer prevention. A systematic review published in the Journal of Nutrition found that garlic supplementation significantly reduced both systolic and diastolic blood pressure in individuals with hypertension, sometimes rivaling the effects of certain pharmaceutical blood pressure medications. Garlic has also been shown to reduce LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, by up to 10 to 15% in some studies. How does garlic do all this? It comes down to its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. The sulfur compounds in garlic, allicin, dialdolphide, acetylcysteine, and others work together to suppress inflammatory signaling pathways, reduce oxidative stress, and even demonstrate antimicrobial activity against antibiotic-resistant bacteria in laboratory studies. That's particularly relevant given the global crisis of antibiotic resistance we're facing right now. Here's a key practical point: how you prepare garlic matters enormously. Research from Penn State University found that letting crushed or chopped garlic sit for 10 minutes before cooking allows the alliinase reaction to complete fully, producing maximum allicin. If you throw raw garlic immediately into a hot pan, the heat destroys the enzyme before the reaction can occur, and you lose most of the benefit. Crush it, wait 10 minutes, then cook. Aim for 1 to 2 cloves daily, either raw or lightly cooked. That simple habit alone is genuinely powerful. Now we move to our third vegetable, a dark leafy green that I believe is one of the most underappreciated foods on the planet. People overlook it in favor of trendier superfoods, but the research on this one is extraordinary. I'm talking about spinach. Spinach is rich in a class of compounds called carotenoids, specifically lutein, zeaxanthin, and beta-carotene. These are fat-soluble antioxidants that play a crucial role in protecting cellular DNA from oxidative damage. But spinach also contains a unique compound called MGDG monogalactosyl glycerol, which has recently gained serious attention from cancer researchers. A study published in the journal PLOS ONE found that MGDG extracted from spinach demonstrated significant inhibitory effects against human prostate and breast cancer cell lines. What the researchers observed was that MGDG appeared to interfere with the cancer cell's ability to replicate DNA, effectively putting the brakes on their growth. This is still early research, but the findings are genuinely promising and worth paying close attention to. Spinach is also one of the richest plant sources of dietary nitrates, and these nitrates convert in the body to nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes and dilates blood vessels, improves blood flow, and reduces blood pressure. A clinical trial published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found that participants who consumed spinach daily for 1 week showed measurable improvements in arterial stiffness and blood pressure, markers directly linked to cardiovascular disease risk. And then there's the folate content of spinach, which deserves special mention. Folate is a B vitamin that plays a critical role in DNA synthesis and repair. Adequate folate intake is associated with reduced risk of several cancers, including colorectal and cervical cancer, because proper DNA repair is one of the body's primary defenses against malignant cell transformation. Spinach is one of the very best dietary sources of folate available to us. One important practical note: pairing spinach with a source of healthy fat, olive oil, avocado, or nuts dramatically improves the absorption of its fat-soluble carotenoids. Your body simply cannot absorb these compounds efficiently without fat present. So that spinach salad with olive oil dressing, you're doing it exactly right. And now the fourth vegetable, the one I promised you would be surprising, the one most people never think of as a medicinal food. And I want you to really pay attention here because the science on this one is exceptional. I'm talking about beets. Some of you might think of beets as just that deep purple-red vegetable that stains everything it touches, but beets contain a class of compounds called betalains, specifically betannins and betexanthins, which are the pigments that give beets their distinctive color. And these compounds are emerging as some of the most potent anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer agents ever studied in plant foods. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that betannins from beets exhibited remarkable anti-proliferative effects against human prostate and breast cancer cell lines. What the researchers observed was that betannins didn't just slow the growth of cancer cells, they appeared to trigger apoptosis, which is the process of programmed cell death. In essence, they were activating cancer cells' own self-destruct mechanisms. That is a profound finding, and it's one reason why beet-derived compounds are now being investigated as potential adjuncts to conventional cancer therapies. But beets have another superpower that most people are completely unaware of. Beets are one of the highest dietary sources of nitrates in the entire plant kingdom, and the cardiovascular effects are extraordinary. A landmark study from Queen Mary University of London found that drinking just 1 cup of beetroot juice daily lowered blood pressure by an average of 8 millimeters of mercury systolic and 4 millimeter diastolic in patients with hypertension. To put that in perspective, a reduction of that magnitude is comparable to what you would expect from a first-line antihypertensive medication. That is not a small effect. That is clinically significant. There's also emerging research connecting beet consumption to brain health. A study from Wake Forest University found that older adults who consumed high nitrate diets, including beet juice, showed significantly increased blood flow to the frontal lobes of the brain area most associated with cognitive function, decision-making, and memory. Given that cognitive decline and dementia are among the most feared conditions in our aging population, this finding is extraordinarily important. Beets are also rich in betaine, a compound involved in liver detoxification and the regulation of homocysteine, an amino acid that at elevated levels is a significant risk factor for heart disease and stroke. And the fiber content of beets supports a healthy gut microbiome, which we now understand to be intimately connected with immune function, mental health, and cancer prevention. Roast them, juice them, add them raw to salads. Including beets 2 to 3 times per week can meaningfully contribute to your cardiovascular health, your anti-cancer defenses, and your cognitive resilience over time. So let's bring it all together. Broccoli with its sulforaphane activating your body's master antioxidant response and targeting cancer stem cells. Garlic, a natural anti-inflammatory powerhouse protecting your heart and showing cancer preventive effects across dozens of major studies. Spinach supporting DNA integrity, cardiovascular health, and reducing cancer risk through multiple simultaneous pathways. And beets showing genuine anti-cancer activity, blood pressure reduction comparable to medication, and emerging benefits for brain health and cognitive function. None of these are exotic. None of these are expensive. They're sitting in your grocery store right now waiting for you to pick them up. And the cumulative effect of consistently including these vegetables in your diet year after year is exactly the kind of evidence-based, long-term strategy that gives you the best chance of living a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. Now, I want to be very clear about something important. Food is medicine, but it is not a replacement for medical care. If you are dealing with cancer, heart disease, or any serious medical condition, please work closely with your healthcare provider. These vegetables should be part of a comprehensive approach to your health, not a substitute for professional medical treatment. But what you eat every single day absolutely matters. The science is clear on that, and now you have the knowledge to make informed, powerful choices for yourself and your family. If you found this video valuable, and I believe you did, please hit that like button right now. It helps more people find this information, and frankly, this is knowledge that everyone deserves access to. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because every week I'm bringing you science-backed practical health information that you can actually use. Click that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. In my next video, I'm going to cover something that has genuinely shocked many of my patients: the truth about 5 common foods that are silently accelerating inflammation in your body. Found the smarter alternatives that can replace them. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. This is Dr. Zoey Scott. Take care of yourself because nobody else can do that for you. I'll see you in the next.